commenting on the competition to be leader of the Conservative Party and therefore Prime Minister. And so I'm going to come out with my prediction now that Liz Truss will win and therefore should become Prime Minister probably on the 5th of September this year. Now, I attended an event that Liz Truss came to not very long ago. I shan't say exactly where. So she came in only 10 minutes late, perfectly dressed in this fetching purple dress, her hair perfectly coiffed and so on, but imperfectly dyed, just a little bit of silver towards the back. But even thick makeup can't hide the fact that she looks rather older than her 46 years. So notwithstanding her apparent imperturbability, I suppose being Foreign and Commonwealth Secretary is a major stressor. Remember, she was Justice Secretary not long before that. And then she's not a solicitor or a barrister, so it's a fairly new office. It's like Lord Chancellor and Justice Secretary. So I think she was the first woman to ever hold the office. Anyway, she's been robust in defense of democracy and human rights in Ukraine against Putin's insensate bloodlust, his illegal aggression, totalitarianism, hypermilitarism, his numerous large-scale atrocities. So I applaud her for that, but she does not deserve plaudits in other things, like I believe the United Kingdom should unilaterally terminate the Northern Ireland Protocol. I think is as unwise to say the least. But she suggested that this was really just a negotiating ploy. You've got to play hardball with the European Union in order for them to actually come to the table, and then she'd like to settle it by consensus. But what if they don't? She would nevertheless go it alone and end it. Now, I know unionists think this is a dissatisfactory situation in Northern Ireland, but the unionists, they want to be in the United Kingdom, they've got it. They want a soft border, they've got it. You can't get everything. There is some give and take here. So it's ensured that trade is very smooth there. I know there's a bit of a problem with goods coming from Great Britain being inspected. So Ms Truss readumbrated her view that tax can be cut forthwith, and they can finance this through borrowing. Said the United Kingdom is not as indebted as some other countries. Well, I know that's true, but I still think it's unwise. But anyway, the idea of slashing imposts was deeply alluring to Conservative Party members. So the reception for Liz Truss was generally a positive one, where I went and she fielded questions, and very few of them were hostile. So I don't think she wowed the audience. She's never someone who's going to set the world ablaze. So as she posed for photos of those who are supporters of her, anyway, and I shan't say which organisation hosted this. So Liz Truss, she comes across as poised, self-possessed, well-rehearsed. Yeah. So she's mugged up. She knows her stuff. But she's only a satisfactory public speaker. She's uninspiring. There's a certain vacuity to her. She's perhaps unemotional. Maybe we want that. Perhaps she's too bloodless. She did mention her two teenage daughters once. So yeah, that's her. So need a woman, do we? I mean, obviously, if she wins, there will have been two women prime ministers in the last out of the last three. It's becoming routine. She thought Rostov was part of Ukraine until advisor reminded us part of the Russian Federation. Yeah, so she slipped up on the geography there, but she doesn't need to know the minutiae of Ukrainian geography. I disagree with her on some things. I think she's perhaps too blinkedly ideological. It all comes across as wishful thinking to me. Does she really believe that? She's just throwing out red meat to the audience. She pointed out that she was a Liberal Democrat in her adolescence and obviously has since grown up, but she knows all the low-down dirty tricks of the orange infestation. So that's about Liz Truss. And then, she had to speak to the French government about trying to sort out the Dover situation. So she defended the policy of sending asylum seekers to Rwanda to wreck the business model of this people smuggler, so they're no longer model of slavery, no longer people drowning in the channel when their boats capsize. But I remember some idealistic far left people I spoke to saying, well, just fly them over, just let them come in like the Ukrainians. So then it wouldn't be 15,000 a year, it'd be 10 times that, far more than the UK could cope with. Anyway, so Ms Truss, she's going to win. She's 24 percentage points in the opinion polls amongst Conservative Party members. There are only 160,000 Conservative Party members. They're much whiter than the general population. They're old, at average age of 57. They're more affluent, and they tend to live in southern England. Some people say, well, to be candid, that Rishi Sunak's ethnicity is an advantage. We need a prime minister who's a visible ethnic minority, because that would appeal to more people, and the ethnic minorities should have a prime minister. for once. And what else? For the Conservatives' own partisan point of view, it would be the ultimate rebuttal of this accusation that they're racialist and so on. So it would be the ultimate disproof of the allegation of the Tories being the party of Enoch Poll. That Rivers of Blood speech was, my goodness, 54 years ago, just not pertinent anymore. But there had to be a series of missteps from Liz Truss for her to lose this, and I can't see that concatenation of blunders occurring, or a blindingly brilliant campaign by Rishi Sunak. And that's not the case. He has set out a stall, gave a major interview in the Daily Telegraph, but I don't think it's working. He may need to tack to the right a bit more, but that may seem like desperation. So she looks like she's going to win comfortably. Yes, Republican final, we had Dr. Leo Varadkar, who's half Indian and openly homosexual. So Rishi Sunak has lately savaged his own party's government, party's record in government. But because of collective ministerial responsibility, he has to bear some of the blame for that. The NHS isn't good enough. Yeah, partly because he didn't give it enough money when you were Chancellor. So there are all sorts of problems. But Liz Truss could become Prime Minister and then lose an election within a year or two. In which case, Rishi Sunak would have a second bite of the cherry. He's 42. There's a lot of time going. Anyway, so who I think would be better? I find it hard to say. I'm torn between the two. This slashing taxes as Liz Truss would like to do, wouldn't that just make inflation, which is already rampant, aggravate? I do like her idea of a bonfire of regulation, so just all this EU legislation is just going to be gone, unless we specifically choose to keep it. Who would you be if you choose someone from the whole Conservative Party? Well, me, but apart from me, it's probably Kemi Badenoch of the candidates. But Liz Truss's policies, red meat thrown out to the party faithful, so she can be panned as populist, unwise, and unsound. I just think some of her policies are not doable, but the non-feasance of deregulation post-Brexit has rancorously disappointed many grassroots Conservatives. So I don't see Sunak snatching the crown from Liz. Senior Conservative Party figures said to me that the ordinary membership are not going to vote for Sunak. And of course, behind the scenes, we've got Lemon's Crise, Boris Johnson, who's doing everything he can to promote Liz Truss, not out of particular affection or respect for her, but simply to deny the keys to number 10 to Rishi Sunak, whom regards as a Judas. Now, in a theoretical matchup, a poll for the Daily Mail, admittedly conservative leaning, it said with Truss as Conservative PM against Starmer as Labour leader, the Tories would win by 8 percentage points. So I'm not sure what would happen if Sunak won. So yes, I mean, I think calling an immediate election would be a wise idea for the Conservatives, where there's a honeymoon before it all goes downhill, as it's likely to next year. Okay, right. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.